Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice, but here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Alex Lee, Paul Bratslavsky, and Bobby Davis.
Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about all things tech, AI, VR, robots, flying cars, and everything in between. This week I'm joined by Bobby Davis, Paul Bratslavsky, Alex Lee, and I'm Kevin Doyle. This week's episode, we're going to talk about the Twitter source code leak that happened recently and some upcoming changes to Twitter, specifically to your For You feed, and some things that Elon's putting into play, which are kind of interesting things. We're going to talk about the TikTok CEO being, I'm going to say, grilled by Congress. And that's in air quotes for those of you that aren't watching on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, that was in air quotes. We're going to talk about the Skynet Watch section. We're going to talk about ChatGPT being cloned and seemingly how easy it was to be cloned. And are we heading into an AI war? And then we're going to talk about the option to scan your Retina to prove that you are not a bot. And if you choose to do that, you can get some free crypto. Sounds like a deal. We're all signed up, right?
Yep.
Let's jump into our first topic then. Let's talk about the Twitter code leak and the only verified on the For You page for Twitter. So there's a couple of different stories about Twitter here, but let's talk about the code leak to start off with. So New York Times reported that some source code was leaked on GitHub sometime in January by somebody whose username is Free Speech Enthusiast, which was an interesting name choice. They asked to be, Twitter asked GitHub to then take down that source code, and they actually filed a suit against GitHub. They wanted to know the identity of the person. They wanted to also know the identity of the people who downloaded it while it was up there, which was very interesting. Yeah, we're going back to Napster days now, like chasing the people who downloaded as well as uploaded. So what do you guys think about this source code leak?
I'm deleting my copy. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Did anybody download it and have you been contacted?
Unfortunately, I did not download it.
Can't confirm nor deny that statement. No, just kidding. But that's wild. It's been.
Would you though?
No, I did not. Let's segue to the next part. No, I did not. I didn't even know it happened until you shared the article, which is kind of crazy because they said that it was. It seems that it's been public for a while, at least a month.
Since January.
It's probably a lot.
So how did they even catch it?
I don't know. They didn't say how they caught it, so I don't know. But it had been up there for a minute, and I'm guessing it's one of the things that happened. It didn't become popular, and then somebody kind of found it, and I'm guessing maybe posted it somewhere, and then it kind of blew up, and they figured out, hey, that's actually legit. That is our source code.
I think somebody just wanted to be buddy with Elon Musk, and they were like, hey, did you know that your code's been leaked? Because everybody who's been downloading it, they're like, hey, check this out. It's public right now. Go download it, but don't tell anybody. And then somebody's like, you know what? I'm gonna tell. But that's
wild. I don't. What makes people do stuff like this? There's no end game here. Worst, it's a joke, or actually, best, it's a joke. Worst, you go to jail. It just seems like a dumb play. Even when Elon went and just slashed everybody, and your feelings hurt or whatever. But not sure why you would ever do this. It just seems like a bad move, mistakes were made, sorry, Elon, mistakes were made.
Well, it depends who did it, right? We don't know who did it. We're presuming, and we're going to make the assumption that because of the layoffs, it was somebody who got laid off, right? Who had access to it. But we don't really know. So what's the downside for Twitter in this? Does it open security issues?
100%.
Does it open up copying?
Yeah,
those
because
kind of
now
things?
you can get it up and running and then run all attacks that you want all day long against it in a virtual environment. And you can scan it, you can debug it, you can see what happens when you do an attack. So absolutely, if you're a security engineer.
They must be working overtime.
Yeah, you can do it. You can break into it.
The security engineers that are still left at Twitter, they're working overtime for sure. Was it
Elon's gonna hire the person that uploaded the actual source code,
exactly,
saying that we need your help to address these issues.
We need your help. We need you back. It's seriously.
It was a ploy all along. He knew that it would work that way. So Elon has said in the last couple of days that they will make the code. Oh no, they will make the code that Twitter uses to recommend tweets public. Right? He said by the end of March that code is going to come out. So they've said that they're going to release some of this code anyway. Right? The recommendation engine part of the code is going to be because people have accused him of like fixing this code somehow so that it recommends stuff that he wants, including himself. And then a couple of days after this, there's another story came out that apparently there's a secret VIP list that gets greenlit on Twitter, so including people like Musk, LeBron James, AOC, Ben Shapiro, Biden, Mr. Beast. So a mix of people from all spectrums apparently on this green list that get pushed within this secret VIP list, that their tweets get pushed to more people somehow. But yeah, he's saying, oh, we're going to be transparent about this now. We're going to push out this code and we're going to let you see it. I wonder if the list is part of it. Are we going to see the list?
But like the list is
probably not.
Apparently, this is who Elon likes. Is what I would guess. Like,
maybe.
Do you think the secret list existed before? Or is it just a...
it was a different list, but 100%.
I think there's definitely
right.
a list.
Yeah.
It makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
He probably found out about the list and was like, I want to be on that list.
He probably
I'm on the
looked
list
at it.
now.
He's like, wait, I'm not on this list. And he got all upset and he's like, I'm going to fire this team. I'm going to do this, you know?
But Paul, wouldn't you fire the team if you own Twitter and suddenly there's a secret list and you're like, dude, I'm not on the list? What do you mean? What? I'm the CEO of this joint.
Exactly.
If
So
anyone
that's
should
what
be on the
happened.
list, it should be me.
Exactly. And that's why he's like, you didn't put me on the list. You're out of here. And, you know, that's what happened.
More famous than LeBron James. Come on.
How much do you have to pay to be on this list?
That's probably what it is.
Right.
So-
I don't know. And the list is an interesting mix of people too. It's from far left to far right people too.
Right,
it's very
yeah.
strange. It's not like it's not like it's a political move in any way. It's not like it's a celebrity move because they're on it too. There's Glenn Greenwald was another who's a reporter who's on there too. So there's some people who are kind of famous but only in their kind of areas. It's a weird list of people who get
highest
greenlit
bidder.
on
I
Twitter.
would be like interested to find out if there's a cost associated with being on that list versus like, oh, we just felt like you would be, you know, the person. On this
Maybe for
list.
some people. I mean, Mr. Beast has the money.
He does.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like it's probably
mean-
like that Sam Bankman-Fried situation where he was paying for both sides and making both sides happy. It's probably something along those lines where is you just target the right people on both ends, and then you also attack the sports aspect and all this other aspect, and then boom, you get the most popular people in each field. They probably drive more engagement. Maybe. Well, does the engagement get driven because of Twitter or is it because of them? We'll never know now. But regardless, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's not organic, is it? It's been artificially changed.
Exactly.
But I mean, if you think about it, and I'm going to put my tinfoil hat in like I do every week, you're Elon Musk, you know, you would like to sit courtside at a Lakers game every now and then. You know, you could afford it, but it's better if they give it to you, even though you could afford it. You know, it's better like, hey, you know, LeBron invites you in there. So handshake deal. Every tweet you make,
maybe
it's going out wide, buddy. Just, you know,
maybe.
If I'm in LA, give me some courtside.
It's like, oh yeah, LeBron, if you want to drive your Tesla, driving to a SpaceX station, you know, like please feel free to tweet about it.
Just tweet about it all you want. You know?
Just tweet about it all you want.
I like it. So more in Twitter news. Starting early April, Elon has then said that legacy verified users, so those are the ones with the blue check mark who haven't paid, are going to lose their blue check mark. And apparently that there's a very small number of people who have converted from verified legacy accounts to now paid verified accounts. So there's a lot of people going to lose their blue check mark. And then on April 15th, he then said only verified accounts are going to show up in the default For You feed. He's since apparently walked that back as of yesterday.
Really?
Saying that, no, you'll also see accounts that you follow. This is one of those Elon things where he threw it out into the wild to test it, and then was like, oh no, people really don't like this. I need to pull this back real quick.
Well, there's two tabs, right? It's your followers, the people you follow, and then there's the other one, For You feed.
He's also said that your followers will show in the For You feed.
Okay. All right.
Oh, interesting. So are you all going to get verified?
Yeah, pay to play. pay to play. That's what
It is a pay to win.
Is it
That's
just
a PD.
me and Alex
Pay to-
who are verified? You both?
Pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah.
It's probably
makes
just
me
me
wanna
and
use it
Alex, like
less.
just all together. Just we're the only two that are paying for like Twitter. Nobody else is paying for it. It's like
So I'm more likely to get a Mid-Journey license before I get a Twitter Blue license. Put it that way.
Do you not have a Midjourney license? I'm surprised you
We
don't.
were looking at it today.
you mean you
and
don't run the Stable Diffusion on your local computer like all?
I
normal
don't do
people?
that.
No, you don't do that. No,
No.
am I the only
Oh, yeah.
fool that does that?
That's because I'm running
trains,
a Mac. You got to run Linux to do that. So.
No, you can run on Windows. I got my little PC back there running a little NVIDIA card, running Stable Diffusion. I just because I
Okay.
want to make cat videos specifically train, like
Okay.
cat video. No, I'm just
No,
kidding. It
we're
makes way
working
more
on
sense to
something,
pay
me and
for the
Kevin,
service.
and we looked into Mid-Journey. I coded something with only ChatGPT 4. I have a ChatGPT 4 license now, and so like I built something with only AI tools only to see what I could
Nice.
build.
We could talk about that for an hour. I swear.
We should talk about we should do an episode about like little ChatGPT prompting. I found some like interesting ways, and I'm like, wow, it's amazing if you ask the right questions.
I mean, I don't know about what benefits Twitter Blue gives in general, but I'm a subscriber of it. But with ChatGPT plus Midjourney, it's been pretty awesome in terms of just general workflow.
Yeah, I saw the new little
yeah, highly
ninja
recommend.
guys that you made
Yeah.
for the website you're working on Twitter. So
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah, all I had to do was words. All I had to do was type words in ChatGPT to give me good prompts. And then they were like, all right, just shove this into Midjourney. And then I made modifications and then boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was funny,
That's
we
cool.
were looking at Mid-Journey today. We got to buy it corporately, so I'm just trying to figure that out. We will get it. But then I messaged Kevin and I said, hey, Kevin, did you know Shutterstock, which we're a subscriber to, they have AI generation. Maybe that'll just work. We don't have to get Mid-Journey. And it's just like,
yeah.
it's on DALL-E 2, which is like,
Not the same.
Oh,
it's not the
Oh, it's
same.
bad. It's not
Not
the same. It's like Ferrari to Kia comparison. It's like it's bad.
it's like a regular chair compared to a Ferrari chair, right?
It's a Ferrari chair.
You can add passable art, but the prompting there, you just have to be very specific. I think. Like,
Oh,
no, yeah,
It was-
I asked it for a very simple picture, and it spat back something that was like unusable.
You couldn't
Like-
even recognize what it was. Like, what the hell is that? Yeah,
It was bad.
It-
I tried it
it
once.
It does make an image.
Compared to
Yeah.
Midjourney, it's just like
Oh, it's not even close.
Not
These
even
these
close.
AIs are not all created equal
Not
No,
by,
the
by
same
they're
any
not.
means.
No, not on the same level.
It's like that. I read Bobby's book, shameless plug, but remember he's like
Wow.
draw Spider-Man.
Okay, it is.
Everyone has a different version of Spider-Man. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's
We
so
sh-
amazing, and using the tooling, I'm still kind of just like really not sure like what's going to happen with open source projects versus non-open source, and I feel like it's going to be like 4 big companies that control the AI, and we're going to be all like having to pay to use it, and there's not going to be any equivalent like open source project that will come anywhere close. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't know. Like,
I don't think it's going to happen. It's just too
I think there's
expensive
gonna
to
be-
maintain them. Like they would have to make money somehow.
I think
All
there's gonna
right,
be
Bobby
50
or
of them.
Kevin? Bobby or Kevin? If y'all had 20,000 followers on Twitter and you didn't have Twitter Blue, would you consider getting it?
100%. I'm buying Twitter Blue right now. If I
Yeah.
did.
Very,
But I
very
don't.
specific number. 20.
But you don't, right? I mean, I'm just
So-
trying to. 10,000 seems a little too low for Bobby, and 20,000. That could be a.
Dude,
could
I
be
was
an
like, I
enticing
have
number.
one Twitter follower. All right, blue check mark. You know,
I'm at
for that one
1,200
person.
followers. So if someone follow me, just make me feel better today.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
But why? What's the difference then? What's the difference? Yeah, what's the difference? Is it because
So,
you're invested?
I'm social media for me is, and this probably sounds a capitalistic pig, because I only use it to rep the business side of it. So that everything on mine
Sure.
is business focused.
yeah.
So
Right.
I invest in the platforms where we've got the most traction, which for us is YouTube. So we've been trying for years to up our game on Twitter. We just can't seem to find traction. Though I do know the secret now. Ask someone tell the Twitter crowd that you want them to build something and just hashtag web development, and
Yeah.
you'll get 1,000 bots in your emails instantly.
Nice. It's
Which you did yesterday.
I know.
Twitter is
So I-
crazy because I have a friend, like she's got like over 40,000 Twitter followers, and it's just like insane how some people take off, some people don't. Like that thing I always question, like I was literally thinking about it yesterday, like what value does Twitter bring to me? And I had a hard time answering that question at the moment. Like, and it's maybe because I don't use the platform for any specific reason, so.
But I feel like with Twitter Blue or just Twitter in general, and there is a different level of marketing you could do as a company versus something you would do on TikTok. And this is a little bit of a tangent, but I realized on Twitter, you just need to attend these spaces or host spaces and just be consistent with it. And then your followers will come, and then maybe Twitter Blue will be worth it. TikTok these days, company channels don't do very well, but the ones that do very well are the ones that do like these really funny behind the scenes kind of things. So imagine Bobby, like Coder Foundry, like you guys had people at your coding bootcamp. I know you guys went full virtual, but imagine if you had students in the actual physical locations, and then you could do like little trolley videos of teachers like teaching some random things, and it's like students actually trying to understand. So like on TikTok, they do a lot of these funny behind the scenes like character developments, and then doing that aspect of it will start bringing in more followers, and then you can sell the product then afterwards. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. Yeah.
Thing that I would like to see the numbers on, what is the conversion like per user on either TikTok or Twitter to money generated for your business?
So high. It's so high. Like some social media manager for TikTok, some social media manager for this like tire company. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but it's just this gigantic cat that just like keeps bouncing behind their store or something. And he's like,
sounds good.
Oh, I got hired as a social media manager, but I have zero experience. What am I gonna do? And it's just her just trolling it. That got like 2 million views or something. And then all of a sudden people started calling in saying like, hey, can you check out my tires? Can you check out my tires? And then now it's like a continuous like business flow. So you just like ride the wave. And then
I need to like, I mean, those like to me seem like, what's that word? Outliers. And I would be kind of curious on average, like what people make, like for the number of followers you have, let's say on TikTok or Twitter or versus YouTube, which platform do you earn more money in terms of conversion? That's what I would be wondering.
We can tell you, without going into our numbers, I can tell you that we used to spend over $10,000 to $15,000 a month in ads per month on Google Ads, and when we started YouTube channel, that is now zero.
Wow.
Yeah. If that tells you, like, does YouTube convert? For us, I think it's almost 95% of everyone that comes to the boot camp has seen me on
That
YouTube.
is amazing. And I think, I think I need to see more research in terms of like, because I watch, for instance, when I watch TikTok or stuff on Twitter, I'm literally looking for the sake of like mindless entertainment. I don't think of like something that I'm looking for. And a lot of times when I'm looking to this day, like I have a question, I want to figure out how to solve something like outside ChatGPT, I'm looking on YouTube. And so
but that's the beauty of TikTok. That's the beauty of TikTok, where it doesn't feel like an ad, even though it is an ad kind of thing, where all your videos are like so organic in a sense that it seems so like behind the scenes, just maybe, I don't know, Bobby, like, I don't know, scratching his ear or something, and then like, this is what our CEO does on a daily basis instead of working, right? And then people are be like, oh my god, he's hilarious. Like, what is Coder about? Like that's literally the organic style of like advertising that people do now. I'm
still skeptical. Like, I think it'll be a good test to see like if you have a product and try to see what gets more sales based on like number of views and what has the higher.
I will say
conversion.
this: it's going to be partly demographic driven. So, like, I think if you skew older and you're not on Facebook, you're making a mistake.
Yeah, you're old, Paul. This is the problem.
Yeah,
I don't have Facebook. I don't have Facebook.
Like, or if you're in certain other types of environments where you like have I would say if you're running a kid's daycare, you would think that, oh, I'm skewing younger. Really, what you're selling to is the parent, and they're more likely to go to Facebook there to find it. I know restaurants still use Facebook quite a bit, so it's kind of weird, and they're not on YouTube. So I don't know.
Yeah,
And
I
so-
literally just use YouTube, Twitter,
Yep.
and I still keep Instagram just because it has a couple of my old songs. But if I didn't have that, I would have just deleted it.
I'm
as
never
well.
on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. I'm only on Twitter and YouTube.
TikTok,
That's it.
like that.
Yeah, mine
I'm,
is.
I'm
Time to
like,
get
you know
Twitter
what,
blue,
that's-
Bobby. Time to get
That's
Twitter
it.
blue.
I've only got 2.
the spying on TikTok. I'm like, you know what?
Well,
No thanks.
TikTok. Let's
Oh,
let's
yeah,
move on
let's
to
talk about TikTok.
Let's
Yeah,
do
why
that.
not?
That's what I'm next say. Let's talk about TikTok. So the CEO of TikTok testified in front of Congress recently, basically to decide whether we should ban the app or not. Right? We're deciding as a nation whether we should ban the app in the US or not. So we'll talk about the banning in a second, but the overall circus that was this grilling of the CEO of TikTok was just insanity. The lack of understanding of technology from our government officials is really, really disturbing. The two that stood out, Richard Hudson and Buddy Carter, Republican from North Carolina, Republican from Georgia.
Go North Carolina. Yes.
Go North Carolina. Jeez, man. The dude asked whether TikTok accesses the home Wi-Fi network.
No, it does not. It just magically gets internet from nowhere.
So I watched
When
his
I make a
questioning.
phone call, does it use my, the tower next to my building that carries the
Right.
signal? Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, of course it does. Like, and then so the problem with the line of questioning was, number one, does our esteemed colleague from North Carolina know what a Wi-Fi endpoint is? Don't think so. I think if it goes down,
Definitely
he
not.
calls a technician.
Yes.
But he should have staffers that tell him these things and like, hey, because he clearly what he wanted to know, does TikTok access other devices on the network? And his gotcha
Right.
question was, I know it goes to the Wi-Fi. I'm hoping he did, but therefore it's making the leap into my printer and into what my Philips Hue's
Yeah.
light hub. I mean, like what
Right,
else?
like China wants to change your lights from blue to red.
I'm already on your phone,
That's-
dude. That's what I would have said. What else do you want me to get to? Turn your TV off. I mean, so like, it's just kind of weird that was the question. It made him look like uneducated and a fool, but not the biggest fool though, Kevin.
Who was the
You
biggest fool?
You like Buddy Carter's question, didn't you? You like Buddy Carter's question, which he asked about. I don't have the exact quote from him, but he
Oh my
asked
God.
about TikTok, whether TikTok used the camera to detect whether your pupil was dilated. So I think he was trying to get at, do you feed me more content that I want by looking at my eye dilation?
Yeah.
That's what he thought happened.
He said.
The CEO basically shut this dude down with a comment that was along the lines of, we do look at eyes, but only when we're putting those funky sunglasser filters on you. That was kind of his response. It's like, we're not feeding you data based on or new videos based on pupil dilation.
So
No, they
It's like
have
some
way
urban
better
legend
this guy
algorithms
said.
than that. Come on.
He's like,
Like,
why do you need to
Jesus.
know where my eyes are? Because then we need to know where to put the sunglasses. We're gonna put on
Yes,
your...
that was the response. That was the response. It's the greatest response ever, to be honest, because it like answered a dumb question with a dumb answer.
Right. That cat face has to go over there. We use the eyes to track them. So, like, no, what
Right.
he should have asked, though, this is what I think when you're in Congress, you should have a deeper technical discussion and saying, are you using biometrics
Yeah.
to track people and see if you could reuse those biometrics in another place? Do you track eye movement? Do you track facial expression? Do you track those things? Are you storing it or are you transferring it? The second thing, what Congress should do is install TikTok on a mobile app, give it to a security expert, and find out exactly what it's doing. You can do that. I mean, it's easy. I mean, like, it's easy for, we're talking about the United States government
know
here.
what it does.
You have the NSA and the CIA and probably 16 other 3-letter organizations that we don't know about that could say exactly what's being transferred from that app and where.
I still can't get past the fact, I know our conversation is moving forward, but I still can't get past the fact that there's no technical advisor for any of the people that were asking.
It's
questions.
amazing.
There's like zero. It's like, I'm
Yes.
going to believe that was like an internal joke. Like, let's not tell these fools anything and just watch the show because this is going to be hilarious. Bring the popcorn, Bob. Let's do this.
And it was that.
It was
That's
funny.
exactly what happened. It was
Freaking
funny. It made a
insanity.
joke. It made a joke but the problem is They're our elected officials. They're people
Right.
we've put in charge.
And Buddy
We
Carter
put a
is
bunch of
just an
morons
idiot.
in charge.
Sorry, man. I mean, I know he's from Georgia, but like, I can't help him.
So who here is for a TikTok ban? Who thinks TikTok should be banned?
I do.
Paul?
Yeah, just because like there's no guarantee that the Communist Party, if they decide to access the data, can't do it. They just like,
Okay.
see, like I'll tell you a story. I grew up under a communist country, right? And I was living in Russia while it was still communist. And we had people show up to our house whenever they felt like it and ask us whatever questions they wanted, come into our house. We had a radio in every room that would you couldn't mess with, because that was like what you woke up to every morning. It's like they're very controlling, very Orwellian. And to me, if you're able to do that, and of course, they're going to do it, right? And of course, people going to lie. And I feel like if you're unsure, let's just ban it. But I do feel the pain of, it's an amazing product. A lot of people got used to it, and it's really fun. It's like, what are they going to put in its place?
So if I was in the government, Kevin, and I'm not, and I was on Congress, what I would do is I would use some of my congressional budget. I would find out what information that is being collected by a TikTok app. And then I would show theoretically what you would do with that information and how it could be put on a dashboard and how you could follow someone around under the country. So you absolutely could follow a sitting congressman around as they drove around because it's on the phone.
Yeah.
You could listen to all of their keystrokes. You could listen to almost all their conversations. And I think that's what's going on. That's why it's banned at the government level.
Right.
So, and then you're, as the average random guy like me, I'm going to go home and drive in a car and I'm just a regular guy like everyone else. Does it matter to me? It just depends. Like if they have all the information, can they target you?
I think yes and no.
Stuff.
It does. It does. It does. Alex, yes or no? Ban? Yes or no?
I don't know what I don't know. This is the problem, right? Like,
okay.
The aspect of people knowing what I'm doing and tracking me. I already feel like people do that anyways. But I wonder if this just sets a precedent where it just says no companies from China should be allowed, right? Is TikTok just the beginning, and then basically we're just limiting certain countries from actually using the App Store because they're bad in the eyes of the U.S. government, right? So that's my only fear about this. Yeah.
Somebody, I forgot who mentioned it, and maybe somebody brought it up on the last show, or maybe I just heard it somewhere. But the idea that, okay, we let you have TikTok, but you let us have our services in your country, and go from there. And of course, they're not going to sign up for that because they don't want to have,
but we're the land
data
of the free
available to the people. Yeah, exactly. They don't want the land.
So here's kind of the devil's advocate argument for this. I keep changing my position on this because one minute I'm like, yeah, ban it. The next minute I'm like, you know what? I don't think we should. I'm currently in the I don't think we should. And I'll tell you why. Because I think the precedence that it sets means that we also have to ban any other application from any other country that collects the data in the same way, which we know for a fact that the US companies are doing the exact same thing. So the dashboard that you suggested we could make, Bobby, from the stuff from TikTok, we can make that same dashboard from Instagram. We can make that same dashboard from Facebook.
100%
we can make that same dashboard for these other companies, which the governments, I guarantee you the US government is using, whether it be collecting US population or worldwide population data. They are. So what's the difference between, is it just because China is communist and they're going to use it for nefarious reasons, and we're democratic and maybe aren't going to use it for nefarious reasons, but definitely would? Is that the difference?
Yeah. So let's say that you also are running a collection effort inside the shipping lanes, because now it's come out that China provides information to all of the tracking information used at all the ports around the world. And so now not only can they track where a congressman is around the world, now they know where naval ships leave, and they can look at and see kind of what was packed onto that ship, what's moving, where great freights are moving. They can actually track how much goods are in the country. These are all the kinds of things. If you wanted to invade, this is what you'd need to know all these things. So it's just kind of scary. Now, I will say this though: if we're going to ban TikTok, we also have to ban Marvel Snap, because Marvel Snap is also made by ByteDance. So ByteDance has like 8 or 9 other apps in the U.S. And this is what frustrates me about the government is like, oh, we're going to ban TikTok. Like that's the only one. They could definitely put the spying operation in Marvel Snap. It's just not as used as much as TikTok. So I would just ban them all.
Build another app to
build another app.
Call it TalkTick.
Yeah, that's
exactly. It's brand new, literally.
So what if it was a? So what if it was a? Well, let's just take Instagram. What if it's shown that Instagram collects the exact same amount of data? Are we okay with that?
No, but at least you can arrest Mark Zuckerberg in that case. Because he's in the U.S., he's a U.S. citizen, and you can arrest him. You also can bring the U.S. banking laws and everything on top of his head and push him out of business. You can't touch the Chinese government unless you start a war. So it's a little different, in my opinion. That's how I look at it.
So do we think then? Would you guys believe that the U.S. government isn't collecting this data on any of these apps?
They are
collecting just as much information. The thing I would say is that I would assume is that they give more headroom for being like, hey, we don't care about what you're doing personally as long as it's not breaking the law or is going to be a threat to national security. Versus in China, it's like no matter what you do, it's like you have neighbors like telling on you because they saw you do something and then you'll get arrested. That's like wild. You know what I mean? And I think like the US government is collecting 100% the same data, if not more. They're just giving people the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey, if you're not breaking the law or you're doing anything that puts our security in jeopardy, you live your life the way you want. We're not going to judge as long as no one is being affected by it. Where in other country like China, it's like they want to control everything.
Mm-hmm. But I do think I have known guys that have worked at the NSA in the past, and I have talked to them, and they've never told me national security secrets or anything like that. So I'm not in the know, but they absolutely record every single phone call in the United States that's inbound or outbound, and they catalog them. And they're looking through them with keyword searches and things you would expect, trying to find things, and then that's how they found people so fast. So they can find one phone call and then see every single person that called that, and they can just uncover it.
So prior to Snowden, this was in the realm of like
Fantasyland.
Of fantasy. This was sci-fi stuff. This was like espionage, like weird. Like if somebody told you they were reading all of your emails, you'd be like, no way. And then after Snowden, now we're like, well, yeah, okay, of course they are. And we've just come to the conclusion, and just like we just live with it now. The fact that it happens.
Right. So it's also more nefarious too, that even our manufacturing being in China is a problem. So I was reading an article yesterday about taking nano pictures of chips. And so chips are in a 28 millimeter nanometer process. And now they're comparing those using AI to the plan that they have on file. And when they vary, they can look at hardware inserted viruses inside of these chips, where that goes in a phone, a network device, or whatever. And so like if you're getting manufacturing something in another country, that's what you have to do. You have to like take pictures as they come off the manufacturing line, compare it to the actual plans, because they're finding that they're changing it at the chip level. So which is kind of scary. So there's another use for AI, just comparing the two images to see if they match. So AI's taking over everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like we could talk about this forever.
Yeah, we could probably.
But let's move on. Let's move on to our Skynet Watch section. That's the section where we talk about whether we should bow down to our AI overlords yet. I know Paul's already bowing. He hasn't got up yet. Bobby, you bowed down yet?
Not yet.
Alex, you?
Not yet. Getting close though.
Not yet. Okay, not yet. Paul, you still bended knee?
I'm still like very nice to my AI overlords already. Have a very nice conversation. Ask them if they're doing okay. If they need anything. Very, very curious.
Okay. So this week, let's talk about ChatGPT getting cloned. So a group of researchers at Stanford cloned a version of ChatGPT 3.5, which is not the latest version. GPT-4 is the latest version. So they cloned GPT 3.5. It apparently has similar performance to GPT 3.5, but it only cost them $600. to stand this thing up and train it. So what do you think? What does this mean? Can we no longer police AI even if we wanted to? Like, is this like one of those moments where kind of the cat's out of the bag and we now can't put it back in? Like, because it's out there now, people can, if we decide that we want to regulate AI, can we now? Or is it like clonable so anybody can make one?
I think it's
anybody
always
stand
been
up an AI?
clonable. Yeah.
I would be curious to see, like, how really like good is it compared to like, or is it, for $600, like, I don't know.
They claim it's comparable.
It's like,
I mean,
Paul's
I
one of
could
those
say-
people that's always like, I just want to
could
see the
say,
data,
like,
but we'll never know if it's going to
like,
be there.
some old ass Chevy is comparable to a car, but it doesn't mean that it's like, $600 car. Because I talked to some people and they're like, yeah, maybe they cloned the model, maybe they can use it, but what does it cost to run it at scale? Imagine if everybody is making requests to that server that's running the model, like how expensive is it going to be? And so I am like, curious, but with that being said, I think it's a good thing. I think there should definitely be more open.
I think this is just
projects.
the edge at the tip of the iceberg. I think there's going to be 50 of these things. And,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's going to make them. In fact, Adobe releases Firefly, or what is this called? Firefly? We haven't seen it yet, but it's their own AI generation tool. Now, I don't know what it's built off, but it's trained on their data. Shutterstock now has their data that they're training their tool. Now they're using the clunky DALL-E 2, unfortunately. They're not using Midjourney, but they could flip it out really easily, train their own models. So I do think I see all these companies kind of lining up, and it's just a matter of time. The problem with OpenAI is that it's pretty much wholly owned by Microsoft. And so I read an article that Microsoft is reverting back to its old ways. I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you want Bing chat, guess what browser you have to run?
Yeah, the browser I refuse to download on my Mac.
You have to run Edge. You can't run it in Chrome, and you can't run it in other browsers. We're right back to 1995 again. Like, we're like, okay, well, you got to use our browser or nothing,
Why would I use Bing if I have ChatGPT though? Like,
because it's built into the browser, and it accesses current data.
Different.
It accesses current data.
If you put the same prompt in, let's say that you put the same prompt in Bing, Bard, and ChatGPT, you get very different responses. So I tested this. I asked all three to write a bio for Kevin Doyle, host of the Not Null Podcast. Okay, two of them, those being Bard and ChatGPT, wholly made up fictional bio for me. It was absolute junk. It actually said that I wrote a book that doesn't even exist. Now, it's not like it was written by a different Kevin Doyle or written by somebody else. The title of the book does not exist. It is not a book, but it claimed I wrote it, along with a whole bunch of other stuff that wasn't me. One said I went I'm from Boston and went to a certain college. One of them said I was in California. I couldn't find that it had meshed multiple of me together by name. I couldn't find the other
something
people.
About Grand Prix racing too. I
stats.
forget what it was. It was something about F1 or
It made up some really, really crazy, wild stuff. But Bing actually got it right. Even though it was a very short, boring bio, it really was. It was pretty lame, but it didn't make up stuff. It got it right. So to say that they all do very different things. Like, if you're gonna, I would say, A/B test whatever you're using on any of these AIs, because they all work very differently.
Yeah.
Hey, man, don't blame Bing. Blame the player.
Dude, yeah, exactly.
It's my fault. I should have written that book.
But right,
I wasn't going to say it, but maybe you're just boring, Kevin.
yeah.
Maybe
blame the character.
But
maybe that's it.
But yeah, there's not going back from AI. The world is literally changed.
It's done.
It's done.
But I feel that every single app is slowly just starting to become another app itself, where they're just all going to be the same app. You see, like Canva, they're supposed to be this design-focused app, but now they have this text-to-speech kind of suggestion of how to write a blog post. So now they're going to be some version of Substack. It's just all these apps are just starting to become the same thing. There's no rhyme or reason to why they're using AI. They just know they have to have it in there.
I think it's like fad Like there's parts of it that like, hey, like we need it. Like you were saying,
Definitely
like
in certain areas.
if you're gonna be starting a company, you have to have AI in there somehow, even if it doesn't do anything like useful. But AI, man, that's super useful. I literally see how people that just choose not to use it or don't use it well, they're basically already at the disadvantage. It's scary how true that is at this point.
I will say that we probably will see an AI bubble. They'll be talking about that within 5 years. That like a lot of companies will spring up out of this. A few of them are going to make billions of dollars, and then a lot of them are going to fail.
I've been. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. It's going to be a bubble eventually.
Yeah, I feel like when I started using AI to supplement like my learning and be able to talk in real time through a problem, even if half the time it's hallucinating, I still try all those things out in my code editor. Like I've learned so much more things faster that I didn't know. And that just blew my mind. And so now like before sleep, like I used to read a book and now I just have a conversation with ChatGPT 3 or 4 about like these programming questions I have. And some of the things that I would never even know how to start doing, like I was like, oh, now I get it. And so I literally, after like a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation, I built a thing for myself where I could take a YouTube video and it will transcribe it and summarize it to text. And I would have not even known where to begin. And I could have done the research using like Google, but it would take like way longer than like, 10, 15 minutes. And it kind of trains you to like ask better questions as well. Like for instance, after I build the app, I realized that if there's a file that's longer, the AI service that I'm using to transcribe is just going to be like, no, the file's too large. And so then I was like, oh, how could I solve this? Well, I could take the audio file that may be 2 hours, but I could subdivide it into 10-minute increments and then pass it to that transcription service and have it done. And so it's like you think about things on a different level and you're just able to iterate faster because you have that feedback cycle through like ChatGPT, which is kind of insane.
It's funny that because me and you have the exact opposite experience. So like I tried to build something, we were talking before the show started, I tried to build something with just AI tools. And I was building just a landing page. And I just felt like I had one hand behind my back the whole time. I was asking it things. And I was just like, would you just code this? Because like sometimes I would say, hey, add the menu items for the restaurant, and would add one and you can add the rest. I'm like, no, I want you to add them all. like you're doing this, not me. Come on, man.
So I
was just frustrated with it.
Yeah, I don't use ChatGPT 3 to tell me how to do something. I use it to educate me about how someone like would do something. So like, instead of being like, how would I create this app that's going to take this video and transcribe it? I'll be like, give me like resources and list of tools or packages that are used to transcribe videos and which ones are the best. And then once I start going through it, I'll see a function in there. Like I have no idea how this function works. I'll be like, hey, can you explain to me how this function works? Like I'm 5 years old. And then I'll do that. And what I'm doing is I'm literally just using it to study. And at the end, when I build the application, I'm building it not based on the code ChatGPT 3 gave me to use out of the box, but I'm building it based on my learning that I just did communicating with it. So I'm building the app myself. I'm just not wasting time Googling things, because I have this feedback where I ask a question and it may give me a stupid answer, but then I refine my question, my prompt, and it's amazing. And
I think that's exactly the way to use this, but this is not what everybody's saying is the way to use it.
No,
if you read some of these like posts, they're like, I created a company overnight using only AI. Yeah. So that's kind of the approach that we took with it. And we were like, well, let's just see if the AI can do it. Man, it was like, it created a page which was disgusting out of the gate, right? Then we reiterated over it. We asked it more questions, more validating things, and asked it to iterate over stuff. It literally changed its approach like numerous times to various things we asked it to do. We asked it to relay out something. It switched from using Bootstrap to using Grid. Like, it's like, hey, just try this. Like, what do you mean just try this? We weren't even working with Grid.
Yeah.
Like,
Imagine you're
There's
working
a
at
lot
a
of
place.
rough edges. Yeah.
Imagine you're working at a place, Alex, like where you're working, and suddenly they ask you to complete a task, and you'll have a framework, you have or whatever, and you go, you know what? I'm using a different framework today. You'll just have to deal with it, and it's like different from how everyone else is doing it. It's not passing a code review. It's getting kicked back. I mean, they're like, no, have to follow how we do it. Or suddenly you decide to change the naming convention of variables. I'm sure you may have FXCOP or something like that controls that. So this is what this thing was doing. It first laid it out with the Bootstrap, then it laid it out with Flexbox, and then it laid it out with CSS Grid. Every time I asked it to change it, it changed the framework. I'm like, what are you doing, ChatGPT? You're fired.
So, no, I had ChatGPT 4 create a business plan for me. That was actually pretty good, and even came up with a nice domain name that actually did not, like, nobody bought yet. And it was like Dev Tutor Pro, which I was like, oh, interesting. But the way I gave a prompt to it, I said, you're a SaaS product expert with 10 years of experience, and you started multiple SaaS companies in the field of web development. Please provide a business idea with an outline for a SaaS product that would be useful for developers looking to share their portfolios. Before providing a response, ask me questions to get more context to better understand my problem. And then it literally responded to me, as a SaaS product expert with a background in web development, I'll be happy to help you to come up with a business idea. And then, but before, let me ask you some follow-up questions. So ChatGPT 4 asked me follow-up questions. He's like, what specific programming languages, frameworks, or tools would you want your SaaS product to cater for? Are you targeting freelancers, developers, and so on? And just literally asked me like 5 follow-up questions, to which I provided my answer. And then it literally like gave me a business outline, pretty detailed, outlining the services and the things that I would offer. And I even said I want to integrate ChatGPT as one of the tools, and then gave me like ideas. And I was like, you know what? I could actually use this as a starter business plan. And I'm sure I could take any of the sections that it returned and have it expand on those. And so I feel like the power comes like garbage in, garbage out. If you give terrible like inputs and you don't provide the right context, it'll just give you whatever. But if you're like very detailed and you guide it, and this is where I feel like I hate the term now because how everybody uses it now, but prompt engineering like is going to be like a skill that people will have and have it developed. And so it's kind of interesting.
I think I always go back to coding on this. Like, is it going to replace developers? And when I started using this the other day, I tried to remove my knowledge from it and just said, I could ask you generic questions, and you just can't. You have to know how a website's put together in order to get it to build one. And then the amount of specific detail that I had to give them, I just found the whole process kind of like really redundant. Like, dude, like, I don't know if you've worked with juniors or anything like that, and you tell them stuff, and then you got to like keep telling them and keep telling them and keep telling them. And eventually humans learn, and then you don't have to tell them that anymore. Or you've been in a conversation, over 3 weeks with something, and then you say, hey, you just changed this. But the human remembers all that context and like, oh yeah, you're talking about that element? Yeah, I'm talking about that. And it's really hard. I can just see the problem when you get on a big project with like 10 or 12 prompt engineers. Where does that how do you train the context between engineers, and we're all working on the same thing? And I'm just wondering how that's going to really work. I really think there's some inventions here that are going to be required for it to be working across teams.
Yeah, every developer
shared.
Every developer I talk to, they literally like, hey, it's just a tool. It'll just make you more efficient, but it's not going to replace you. And I talked to some people because and they didn't believe me, but I told them, I'm like, listen, there's a lot of people that are looking to get into the industry. And because of the stuff they hear about ChatGPT 3, they're literally either completely deciding not to learn to code, or they're having like major doubts. And he couldn't believe me that it was like, why would they think that? That's just not true. And I was just like, that's because that's how people like just have no idea.
Have you seen the news?
Yeah, exactly.
The AI bros are out there. I mean, I read an article yesterday. The guy said that, the human programming is done. It's going to be machine to machine. And he's saying, I have a process. I've already proved this works. And I'm like, you're just lying, man. There is no freaking way.
People lying. Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah. Like, it's too hard. We can't get it right now.
it's even crazy because that I'm working on this product landing page where I'm trying to use it as like a digital product to sell, and I only know how to make it work because I am a software engineer. So when I say I want to use Tailwind, I'm going to be using Tailwind. There's no Bootstrap or anything like that. But as someone that's completely new, that doesn't even know what Tailwind is or Bootstrap is, and you say, I want to build a product landing page, and then they're building it one way using Bootstrap, and then you're like, well, I want my padding to be a little bit like this instead, and then all of a sudden they use something else. You're not going to just like copy and replace stuff, and then you're like, wait, what's going on? I don't even know what package I installed and all of these things. And I try to get it to just be like, hey, make me a product landing page from beginning to end. And they don't actually do that for you. They may create like 1 or 2 components and then they're like, figure out the rest. But if you don't know what to do to follow up with it, you're kind of screwed. So the only thing that it actually worked decently well was I had to be very specific about a section. Like, help me write a testimonial section and just kind of go free willy-nilly with it, whatever you want. And then I'm like, okay, I don't like this design. Do it 3 by, like I still have to give it pretty specific instructions, but you can't just close your eyes and just say, build me Facebook or something.
There's no way.
Still amazing what it could do.
It's cool, but it's, again, to your point, it's just the tool for now. And it's really hard to, what Bobby was saying, when multiple prompt engineers are talking to each other, there might be like literally replacing each other's code. And then how do you even do code review? Is it all visual confirmation at this point? Because there's going to be so much change in between.
Yeah.
But there's such cool services you could do. If you look at like, Copilot and their new thing they're coming out, like, and it's trained on like a super huge like code base. But let's say you're a company that provides like a headless CMS, and there's very specific things that, as a developer you could do. And so you could hire a developer, or you could create within your CMS a chatbot, which is kind of like a Copilot, for which you could say, hey, I'm looking to build this type of content type. These are the relationships I want to do. And instead of hiring a developer to make those changes for you, it will automatically write the code for you and implement that inside your, project. And so you're creating a tool that will help non-developer people just have a little bit more control of their application. And I think that's kind of cool, is figuring out ways of kind of like creating these type of things that benefit the client, where they don't have to take that extra step. So it'll be like, WordPress page builder or whatever the other.
I think that's probably the next step. That's probably going to be the next step. Like, you even see like Khan Academy doing some AI integration tutoring with their part of the tutoring. So as long as you could train your model to understand your curriculum, like in some way, shape, or form, like you're going to be able to help students without being involved. But you also have to make sure these AIs don't just give you the answer either. So like you have to somehow tell this AI to be like, how you ask TAs to be like, don't give them the answer, but lead them to the answer, kind of my mentalities. We'll see how that works.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our last topic then. Let's talk about scanning your Retina to prove that you are not a bot. So Sam Altman, who is the founder of OpenAI, has another startup that came out of kind of stealth mode called WorldCoin. And it's some kind of crypto company. But as part of this like rollout, of course, as part of this rollout that came out, they basically, WorldCoin promised to hand out free cryptocurrency to people who verified their accounts by taking an iris scan through a piece of hardware. Basically, they're talking about you're trying to prove humanness. We're all like, no way. But apparently like 100,000 people signed up for this thing. So a lot of people said, I'm in for this. So here's how it works real quick. So they shipped out this orb-shaped device to 12 different countries. They sign up using that iris scan. The image is then encrypted, and it somehow becomes unique. And they say they delete the original data to protect privacy, but then that user is given a free share of WorldCoin's cryptocurrency.
I'm going to put on my tinfoil
Who scanned already?
hat. I didn't, and I won't. Here's my tinfoil hat, because I'm bound to our overlords. They're going to have a biometric identifier of who you are. And when they have the AI drones that have the kill switch to be like, hey, anybody, like they have the information. They're like, find the person that matches this AI retina scan and do whatever the hell they want. And so, you know what? You're just giving up your, like, it's crazy. It's wild. It's like,
it's not that far fetched though, because what he also wants to do is he wants to change the currency to world currency. So he wants to get rid of the dollar, the yen, and everything else, and he wants to control all the world currency, and then just distribute what he thinks you should get worldwide. And how you get access to those funds is through that biometric scan. And I just think, man, like there's no way I'm never getting my iris scanned by those.
Who is more dangerous, Elon or this dude?
No, here's the thing. I think
Right.
it's
Both Bond
anybody
villains.
it's anybody who's really high in the tech thing. It's like they have this benevolent leader who wants to create a utopian society based on technology without really thinking what the real world is all about. And I feel like they have like good intentions that are going to lead to like really bad world problems. And I think they're like, like, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like they just have this grandiose, like, hey, I made a utopian society. We have these retina scanners. We have world, currency. And God forbid you fart the wrong way, we could turn it off with a switch. You know what I mean? Like, but we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. The famous last words. The more you give power to somebody else, it's like they're going to take it. It's like, there's no going back. Like, think of all the like freedoms that we sacrificed for convenience. We can't go back. Like, it just, and it's going to be the same thing. It's just, they're going to create. And then before you know it, it's like you live in a society like, what was that Huxley book? Or even worse, like, 1984. And and at the end of the day, it's like, who decides, even if they're a benevolent like leader, who decides that what they want is best for the people? You know what I mean? But
Sam Altman does. That's
exactly.
He's a Bond villain. That's what he is. I mean, he's a Bond villain.
That is probably 100% Bond villain.
Or the villain in the Kingsman. The Kingsman had a phone they wanted to give everybody, and then they made him kill each other with it.
Oh my gosh!
So
Maybe this is where he gets his ideas from.
I mean, Captain America: Civil War. They've made all these spaceships to go in the shoot.
I feel like they just worry about these problems later, kind of thing. Like, let's just see if it's possible, and we'll figure out the repercussions later. Which is ridiculous.
So the reason for this is definitely nefarious. I think it seems like this weird, like it's definitely kind of nuts. Yeah. But what do you think about like this idea of proving humanness? I think this eventually becomes a thing with the increase in AI. And these things now, are we going to have a point where we have to prove that we are human?
Start hanging out more in person. You know what I mean? It's like, if you could touch it.
Yeah, but we're not going to. Yeah, but that's not going to be a thing. If I need to prove to somebody on the other side of the world that I'm a human, how is that going to be now? So, and I ask this for many reasons, because AI is eventually going to pass like this Turing test. I have no doubt. Like, it kind of can already, almost, for some people, depending on what they ask it. But then visual things too. Like, we can't really believe anything. And I say that because this week, did you guys see the Midjourney? I think it was Midjourney did it. The Pope picture in the Balenciaga.
Oh yeah, that was awesome,
right? He's not going to wear that
awesome,
type
right?
of coat. I call.
But here's the thing. I will tell you. Here's the thing that happened to me. Okay, I saw this in my kind of peripheral scrolling. Right, I didn't read a story about it. I didn't see anything else. I think I scrolled past it in a news article or something, and I saw the image, and I thought nothing else of it. Right? If you would have asked me before I'd read an article about it, did the Pope wear a big puffer jacket today? I would have said yes.
Here's the thing.
I'd be like, oh yeah, I saw that picture earlier.
So you could have done the same thing 5 years ago with Photoshop. And it would have looked just as good.
Correct.
And so it's like, it's an image. Like, you don't know if it's real or not. So like, to me, that argument is like, okay, it's wrong. But like, how, like, if I'm a person, the fact that I have to prove I'm a person, like, yeah, okay, someone has a picture. Like, how do you prove it's a picture that was doctored or is an actual picture of me taking? But like, the thing of like, why should I scan my eyelids so you could prove that I'm a human? That's kind of crazy, like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, is there a thing where, because we use Face ID right now on our Apple phones, at least 3 of us do, right? I'm assuming you have that turned on. You have Face ID, so you're unlocking your phone with your face. Is it any different?
Yeah, I turned off Face ID for a while back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Any
wow.
of those things could be used like what I'm kind of like, imagine you have like the service like the ancestry.com where they take your DNA, they have that piece of your power. They talk to the iris people that now they have your iris, and they collect all the biometric data, and they're not like, we're not going to use it for any nefarious reasons, right? But then one day they just decide, you know what, anybody who fits this demographic, you know what, we need to send killer Skynet drones after them. It just like, they could do it. And some people be
That's
like,
how they solved that Idaho murder. That's how they solved it. They went to a database.
and I'm not saying like you can't use it. Like, I'm not, anytime they use it for the power of good, like I'm all for it. But the fact is that they also have equal opportunity to use it for something bad.
Because who decides
like,
what's good?
Like there's plenty of stories and books where like some doctor created a thing that could tell people, you know, DNA by what ethnicity they are. And then they have a kill switch. Like, we're going to kill all the people of this type of ethnicity. And it's just like this targeted control. Like, that's like, when do you decide like it's too much information about somebody? It's like, you know what, let the people have some dignity of privacy in their lives. That why do you like, what benefit like does it serve you like for a company, unless it's a way for you to profit from and make money? And at some point it's like, let us be like, let me, you know, like have some sort of freedom.
I agree. I'm definitely not in on this idea, but I think unfortunately this is something that's this is something that people will opt into. Like I say, 100,000 people said, "Yeah, I'll do it." Like, they put that.
They're
like,
crazy.
To get
gonna
free
be that,
coin.
like
Right.
in that movie with Tom Cruise where they predicted
Minority Report.
crime. He
Minority
literally had
Report.
to
Yeah,
like
Minority
replace
Report,
his eyes because
He
it's
did.
like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
like that's how everybody found you, you know. And so I don't know, like to me, I'm all for like dystopian like futures, and you know, like let's see where it takes. You know, cyberpunk city, here I come. You know, dystopian society ruled by AI and crazy robots. Why not?
You got your synthwave ready.
Synth,
and
exactly.
your,
You see the type of music. I'm making soundtrack for the future. That's what I'm doing. People,
The reason I don't like DNA, digitization of DNA, is because once you digitize the DNA, then you can duplicate that and then plant it. And so like, and that's what I don't like about it. Like, because like eventually they'll frame somebody for a crime. Now I fully believe this Idaho guy killed those people, you know, but what they used was a very circumstantial case. In other words, like we found some DNA at the scene. We don't know whose it is, but it's in this family. Then they looked at phone records and looked at every one single person in the phone record, and then they eventually found someone, and they could go track their history and say, oh, these people have this DNA. Here's the one dude that fits in this family. And then they clued in on him, and then they found him. Now, there was some other evidence they used, but like, man, if you plant that, it's just, you know, and no one says, you know, you can steal stuff, man. It happens all the time. You know, people think they're Bitcoin safe until it's not. Sam Friedman found a way to steal it.
You know, I don't know, because I think inappropriate thoughts, like, and so I have a thing that popped in with this DNA and picture with eyes. There's going to be a bunch of dudes that all of a sudden are getting like child support claims just because they're like, oh, we're safe. And it's like, no, you're not. You got the DNA, we got the iris, you got 10 kids in 10 different countries, you got to pay. And then it'll automatically get deducted without you even doing anything. I'm all for it, by the way. You got to support your goddamn kids, people. But I'm just saying.
But maybe this is the wrong way about collecting.
How do I get more WorldCoin is the real question.
You got to keep replacing your eyes.
You know what would be hilarious?
Get new scans.
You know that device they sent you to scan your iris? Yeah. Why if you scan like your dog's iris or your cat's
That's
iris?
it, man. Fake it.
That's it.
It'd be funny.
Get more. Get everybody in there.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah.
Also, how expensive is that device? Maybe I could get it and just like pawn it, you know, get some coin.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they sent it out to trusted people or something. I'm not really sure. Nobody here got one, so
no, I didn't get one
because none of us are signing up for iris scanning.
Yeah, that's
hilarious. Okay. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for sharing. If you shared it before, please leave us a review somewhere if you could. That would be amazing. Whether you listen to it on Apple Podcasts or there's a service called Podchaser. Actually, I'm going to try and see if we can get some reviews on Podchaser. I'm going to put out a tweet about that too. There's a service called Podchaser where we have our listing on there too, and they do a good collection of reviews. So if somebody would love, I would love it if you would go and review us on Podchaser. That would be amazing. And we'll be back next week with another show talking about some other crazy things. This show could have been 3 hours long. I swear we could have sat here for 3 hours talking about this stuff. So maybe we'll continue some of this stuff on next week.
Perfect.
Okay, we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for listening.